Life is difficult. We all know that feeling, don't we? But what if? What if that very difficulty isn't some kind of cosmic mistake, but maybe the biggest gift we actually get?
That's a really powerful starting point, isn't it? It comes straight from M. Scott Peck's classic book, The Road Less Traveled.
Exactly. And today we're doing a deep dive into that idea. We want to unpack 3 key tools Peck says can help us turn that struggle, that difficulty, into real growth.
Those tools being discipline, love, and grace.
Right. Concepts we might think we know, but Peck gives them such depth. So our mission today is to explore how these can actually work in your life, how they can help navigate challenges with maybe a bit more understanding.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, let's kick off with Peck's foundational argument. He just lays it out there. Life is a series of problems.
Pretty blunt.
It is. But he says the pain we feel confronting those problems, frustration, grief, anxiety, all of it, that's what makes life hard. And crucially, trying to avoid that pain. That's often where bigger issues start.
Yeah, he has that famous line, something like, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering.
Exactly that, meaning our mental distress often stems from dodging the necessary pain, the very pain that helps us grow.
And what's fascinating is how he flips the script on problems. He doesn't see them just as obstacles. No, he calls them the cutting edge that distinguishes between success and failure. He argues they actually call forth our courage and our wisdom.
So problems create wisdom?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Or at least confronting them does. It's through that struggle, through that pain, that we genuinely grow. Mentally, spiritually. It's not just about getting through it. It's seeing it as the path itself.
Wow. Okay, that reframing is huge. It suggests we almost need these challenges to find our strength.
Pretty much. That brings us right to his first tool for handling this difficult journey, discipline.
And a key part of that discipline, he says, is delaying gratification.
Ah, yes, the cake analogy.
Tell us about that. It's quite vivid.
Right, so Peck talks about this financial analyst he was treating. She procrastinated terribly at work. He asked her how she eats cake, and she lit up. Oh, the frosting. She always ate the frosting first, and guess what? She did her work the same way. The fun, easy bits first, then hours suffering through the rest.
Sounds familiar, maybe for some of us.
Definitely. Peck's advice was simple, but hard. Schedule the pain first. Get the tough stuff done, then enjoy the reward, the pleasure. It's about mastering that impulse.
It makes sense, but, why is that so hard for so many adults? You'd think we'd learn.
Well, it's a skill, isn't it? And it often isn't fully developed. Peck notes some kids get it by 12 homework before TV, no arguments. But many others, maybe the problem students, they operate on play now, pay later.
And the later can be pretty costly.
Extremely. Disastrous relationships, career issues, just chronic turmoil. Like that analyst, brilliant woman, but couldn't handle the discomfort of tackling difficult family problems, even though it impacted her work. It's that deep human urge to avoid immediate discomfort.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it? For you listening, are you kind of living by play now, pay later, and maybe? What's the actual price tag on that delay?
It's a tough question.
It really is. And this idea of facing things head on, it leads straight into the next piece of discipline, taking responsibility.
Ah, yes. He's very direct about this.
He really is. He just says, we cannot solve a problem by saying, it's not my problem. Blaming others, blaming circumstances, it just doesn't work.
It's hoping someone else fixes it, which rarely happens. He uses some great stories here.
Like the ones from Okinawa.
Exactly. The sergeant blaming the island for his drinking, or the young wife blaming Okinawa for her loneliness because, well, she wouldn't learn to drive the stick shift car that could take her to meet people.
You wouldn't own their part, their choices.
Right. They wouldn't claim their own power. Peck even shares his own story, being furious with his boss, Mac Badgley, for not solving his time management issues.
What did Badgley say?
Just, it's your problem with your time. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Peck was enraged at first. But then that realization that it was his choice, his responsibility, he called it a cure for his own subtle issues. It highlights the immense power we actually have, even when choices feel painful.
That really hits home. It reminds me of that quote, I think it was Eldridge Cleaver, if you are not part of the solution, then you are part of the problem.
Powerful statement.
So for you listening, how does this idea of responsibility land? How can you maybe embrace that personal power more in your daily life, especially with the tough stuff?
And taking responsibility often means we need to look at our internal maps.
Right. Peck's idea of updating your map of reality. Explain that a bit.
Well, we all build these mental maps, right? How the world works or place in it. But the world changes. We change child to adult, job to job, relationship to relationship. So our maps, they constantly need revising.
Which sounds logical, but he says it's painful.
Excruciatingly painful sometimes. So what do? Often we just ignore the new information. Or worse, we attack it, call it false, dangerous, wrong.
We try to make reality fit our old map instead of changing the map.
Precisely. He tells this story about a brilliant computer tech. Super smart, but couldn't hold a job because he deeply distrusted everyone in authority. Saw them all as cheats.
So his map was authority-based.
Basically. And in therapy, he couldn't revise it. He saw his therapist as just another untrustworthy figure on his old, outdated map. He couldn't see the therapist was trying to offer him a new map. Tragically, it kept him stuck.
Wow. So discipline here means it requires a total dedication to truth, even when it hurts.
That's exactly it. Being open to challenge, to criticism, like the woman in therapy Peck mentions who blushed when he pointed out her hair was flattened in the back, a tiny thing. But it showed an avoidance of a small, uncomfortable truth.
And it applies to bigger things, too.
Absolutely. Confronting the big lies we might tell ourselves, oh, we really love our kids, or our parents really loved us, when maybe the reality is more complex, more painful. Psychotherapy, he says, is kind of a truth game, trying to find and dismantle those self-deceptions.
Okay, so delaying gratification, taking responsibility, dedication to truth. What's the last piece of discipline?
It's balancing.
Yeah.
He talks about needing extraordinary flexibility to live well.
Flexibility, like being adaptable.
Yes, and knowing when to give up something. He uses this great childhood story about riding his bike really fast down a steep hill.
Oh, yeah.
He felt ecstatic, but knew he had to brake for a sharp corner. It felt like absurd self-punishment to slow down. So he tried to keep the speed and make the turn.
Uh-oh. How did that end?
Crash. Twisted bike wheel.
Oh.
Painful lesson. Sometimes you have to give up something good like that speed to avoid something much worse.
So we have to keep giving up parts of ourselves as we grow.
That's his point. And he connects this giving up to depression. He argues that sometimes depression isn't necessarily pathological. It can be the healthy, normal feeling associated with letting go of an old way of being, an old self, to make way for the new. It signals that major change is required.
The death before the rebirth.
Exactly. It's part of maturing, letting go of old maps, old behaviors.
So reflecting on that, maybe think about what you might need to give up or revise right now to find better balance in your life. It's an ongoing thing, isn't it?
Constantly.
Okay, let's shift gears. Behind all this hard work of discipline, Peck says, is the energy, the motivation, which comes from love.
Right, but not love in the way we usually think about it, maybe.
Definitely not. His definition is quite specific, quite powerful. He says, love is the will to extend yourself for the purpose of nurturing your own or another's spiritual growth.
Let's break that down. Will is key.
Yes. Not just a feeling, not just desire. It's desire put into action. It's a choice. And it involves effort going the extra mile, consciously.
And notice it includes nurturing your own growth, too. Self-love isn't separate.
Why is that so important in his view?
Because you can't really give what you don't have. You can't nurture another's growth effectively if you're not working on your own. You can't teach discipline if you lack it. Self-love and loving others, for Peck, they're intertwined, indistinguishable, really.
Okay, so if that's love, how does falling in love fit in? Or does it?
Well, he sees falling in love very differently. He describes it as temporary, often sex-linked, a kind of sudden collapse of our ego boundaries.
Collapse of boundaries, meaning?
That feeling of merging, of being one with the other person. It's ecstatic, sure. Feels like an escape from loneliness, maybe even omnipotent for a bit, but it's temporary.
The honeymoon phase.
Exactly. The honeymoon always ends. That initial intensity fades. And the big problem is confusing that temporary high with real, lasting love.
Which is fueled by the myth of romantic love.
Precisely. This idea there's one perfect person meant just for you. And if it gets hard, oh, must be the wrong person. He saw so much suffering from this. Like the woman, Mrs. D, who got depressed just because she stopped feeling in love. Or the couple, Mr. and Mrs. F, constantly having affairs, searching for that true love feeling again.
They miss the point that the end of falling in love could be the start of real love.
That's exactly what he argued, the beginning of the work of love.
So it forces a question for you, the listener. Are you actively choosing love, investing that will and effort? Or are you maybe just clinging to a relationship out of fear? Fear of being alone?
critical distinction for growth.
And this ties into another area Peck tackles, dependency versus love.
Oh, he's really blunt here.
Yeah.
He basically says if you absolutely need someone for your survival, your emotional survival, that's not love, it's parasitism.
Wow, strong word.
It is. He insists true love happens between two independent people. People who could survive apart, but choose to be together because it helps them both grow.
And dependency is different.
Yeah, he gives examples. The man who jumps immediately into a new relationship after a breakup just to feel okay. The young woman cycling through loser boyfriends, desperately clinging. It's not about growth. It's about filling an emptiness.
And where does that come from?
Often, he suggests, from a lack of real love and discipline in childhood. It leaves people scrambling for care and attention anywhere they can find it, sometimes using manipulation to keep it.
So, to really understand love, the real kind, what does Peck say is essential?
Attention. Real focused attention. He calls it the principal form that the work of love takes. And it requires effort, deliberately setting aside your own stuff.
Can you give an example?
He shares a personal one. Attending a lecture by a famous sage. Many people found it confusing, disappointing, but Peck, he put in tremendous effort, really listened intensely, concentrated hard, and he gained brilliant insights. He saw his active listening as an act of love, valuing the speaker's wisdom and investing in his own growth by truly receiving it. He points out how much time we waste not truly listening.
Especially maybe with children. He talks about that, right?
Absolutely. It's huge for parents.
Yeah.
He outlines different ways parents respond to kids' chatter, forbidding it, ignoring it, pretending to listen, selective listening,
And the ideal.
true listening, which, he admits, takes a quantum leap of energy, total concentration. Even when your 6-year-old is talking about something that, frankly, feels incredibly boring to you.
Why is that effort so important?
Because it's the best possible concrete evidence of your esteem. It tells your child, you matter, your thoughts matter. And when kids feel valued, they start to feel valuable. They say things of value.
And it creates a positive cycle.
Exactly. Value creates value. Love begets love. They become more willing to listen back to you. It fosters mutual growth, this pas deux of love, as he calls it.
Beautiful. Okay, one last aspect of love he explores, which might seem surprising. Confrontation and separateness. How do they fit?
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But he argues, true love isn't just about being nice. It requires judicious giving and judicious withholding. Sometimes praising, sometimes criticizing, even arguing or confronting when necessary.
Why is confrontation sometimes loving?
Because avoiding it can be harmful. He gives this example of a minister whose meekness was really weakness. He failed to confront his difficult wife, failed to protect his daughter or teach her how to deal with negativity. Failing to confront, Peck argues, can be a failure to love.
So loving partners need to be willing to challenge each other for growth.
Yes, repeatedly confront each other. He says, if the relationship is going to help both partners grow spiritually, it's about honesty for the sake of growth, not just arguing.
And how does separateness fit in?
It's crucial. He talks about narcissistic parents, like a Mrs. X in one case study, who couldn't see her child as separate. She felt her daughter Susan's schizophrenic pain as if it were her own pain, blurring the lines.
She couldn't see Susan as an individual.
Right, Peck quotes Khalil Gibran, "You need spaces in your togetherness, in a marriage. Love should be like a moving sea between the shores of your souls. It's the separateness that actually enriches the union."
So real love respects individuality.
It doesn't just respect it, it actively cultivates it, even if that means risking separation or loss. It wants the other person to be fully themselves.
That's a high bar for love.
It absolutely is.
Okay, discipline love. Now for the final tool, maybe the most mysterious one, grace.
Yeah, this one's different. Peck calls it a mysterious force, something outside us that pushes us to grow. It's not something we directly control in the same way.
How does he see grace showing up? One idea is symptoms as grace. That sounds odd.
It does, doesn't it? He uses the case of Betsy, a young woman suffering from severe anxiety attacks, agoraphobia. She couldn't understand it. She thought her life choices were all sensible. Everything seemed fine on the surface.
But the symptoms suggested otherwise.
Exactly. Peck saw them as a wake-up call. They were forcing her to face her underlying fear of freedom. The fact that her sensible choices were actually stifling and unstimulating. The symptoms weren't the core illness.
They were.
The beginning of its cure. An unwanted phenomenon of grace, he called it. A gift, really. A message from deep within, pushing her towards self-examination and healing.
So a painful symptom could actually be a gift. That really shifts perspective.
It does, and it connects back to taking responsibility, interestingly enough.
Oh, so?
Think about the Greek myth of Orestes. He was pursued by the Furies, these terrifying spirits, for killing his mother. But eventually, instead of blaming fate or the gods, he took total responsibility for his actions.
And what happened?
That act of taking responsibility transformed the Furies. They became the Eumenides, the loving spirits, who then offered wise counsel and helped him find good fortune. His agony turned into wisdom because he owned it.
It's a metaphor for how owning our struggles, even mental ones, can lead to healing.
Precisely, turning torment into a source of strength and guidance.
Amazing. And grace also shows up in, well, coincidences. Synchronicity.
Yes, those moments that feel like more than just random chance. Peck shares some striking examples.
Like the scientist.
Right. Driving along, slams on his brakes for absolutely no conscious reason just before a blind curve. Seconds later, a speeding car comes flying around that curve on his side of the road. He avoided a certain collision.
Wow, just an impulse.
An impulse that saved his life. Or Peck himself struggling to rewrite a chapter, totally stuck. Then, out of the blue, a colleague's wife he barely knew finds and sends him a specific book that perfectly solves his writing problem.
Just happened to find it.
Just happened to find it. He defines synchronicity as these implausible conjunctions of events happening more often than chance would predict. It hints at some kind of underlying guidance, maybe.
A nudge from the universe.
Something like that, suggesting we're not entirely alone in our struggles.
So bringing it all together, what's the big picture of grace according to Peck?
His conclusion is pretty powerful. He says the very existence of grace is evidence, not just that maybe there's a God or some higher power, but that this power's will is focused on our growth, on the individual human spirit's evolution.
That humanity is sort of central to this force's concern.
That's how he puts it. But here's the paradox. You can't just will grace to happen. It comes to us.
So you can't force it.
No, but you can open yourself to it. You can make yourself receptive. It's this paradoxical mixture of seeking and not seeking.
How do you do that? How do you welcome grace?
Well, by doing the work we've been talking about. Cultivating discipline. Practicing real love, being truthful, responsible, attentive. That prepares the fertile ground, you could say. You make yourself ready for growth, trusting that this grace, this mysterious help will meet you there.
So ultimately, Peck's message isn't that life shouldn't be difficult. It's that the difficulty itself is the opportunity.
Exactly, the raw material for our evolution.
And the tools are discipline to face the pain and use it. Love is that act of choice, that will injury, to grow ourselves and others. And grace, that mysterious help that comes when we're open.
And he puts a lot of weight on this. He suggests the entire human race might be in the middle of an evolutionary leap.
Wow.
Whether we make that leap successfully,
Yeah.
he says it's actually your personal responsibility. Our individual growth matters collectively.
That is a heavy but also inspiring thought. It means our personal work has real significance.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, Peck talks about spiritual growth as this continuous process, a series of simultaneous deaths and births, letting go of the old to make way for the new. Which leads to a final thought for you to maybe ponder. What belief, what habit, what old pattern might you need to let go of right now so that your new self has space to be born?